come all this way just to die?
And just a quick explanation of how the build works is Witchy Trigger Finger gives us 15% gun damage per stack. It stacks up to 6 times because we have Grievous Power. Every time we use Eldritch Blast, it refills our ammo. So this also works for ordnance. And so we are spamming Eldritch Blast so that we can refill our ordnance. If we don't use Eldritch Blast, our ordnance comes on cooldown. And so we want to prevent that from happening. And that is why if we attack too fast, we might not be able to hit Witchy Trigger Finger in time for the magazine to refill. So that is why we opted for Keen Mind instead. So we just have more crit chance, which procs our Bloodletter to crit. And over here, Vibe Check between Vibe Check and Heart Piercer. Vibe Check seems to have a faster animation, and faster animation means you can proc your Witchy Trigger Finger much faster. Heart Piercer seems to have a slower animation, and it doesn't spam as Eldritch Blast as quick. On top of that is you lose health, and when you're losing health, you're losing damage because Bloodless Power only works if you're on full life. So even though like we're able to lifesteal our life back, there's like a, I don't know, about like a 1 to 2 second delay before that happens. And you're not getting your full damage value. So I just opted for this. Hello everyone. So I'm going to give you an overview of the build. How this works is we are using Shielded Teen Witch with a shield that has amp on it. And so how this works is since we are able to lifesteal our shields as well and gain overshield, we have perma shields. And because we have permanent shields, we can proc amp on every single shot or close to every single shot. And amp gives us 100% gun damage, but when I go over the specializations, you actually get 150% on your ordnance. So the only weapons that you need here is I use ceramic, the bod weapon. This is just for mobbing. in case your ordnance does go on cooldown, you can use the bod. And Hot Slugger just gives you more damage for 10 seconds, so you can have up to 90%. The other weapons don't really matter. I just have random shotgun. But yeah, the only things you want is just the bod, slugger, and Teen Witch, and a shield with amp. For mobbing, you could get the fireworks. Fireworks is pretty good for mobbing. Or you can also opt for a super soldier. Now, what would make this build even better is if you have a shield with super soldier and it has amp. I don't know if that exists, but if it does, super soldier with amp would be the best shield for this build. Because what this shield gives you is more fire rate, more move speed, and it regens ammo. And the regenerating ammo also works for the ordnance. So you can just generate more ammo while you have ordnance, and that gives you even more uptime. The other thing that you want is just an enhancement that has these stats: gun damage, fire rate, and gun splash damage. Anything that just gives you more damage is the best. However, what would make this even better is if you have one that gives the Headringer. Headringer gives you 25% damage and 100% damage radius. That would be the best with these passives underneath it. So if you can ever get one that has the Headringer buff with these passives, that would be the best enhancement for that. And for the Repkit, I just have run with Accelerator and Enrage. Enrage gives you more damage to all abilities. So we are using Bleed. And so all damage dealt includes Bleed. I was testing with Leech and Enrage, but for some reason, Leech doesn't seem to be working. Leech doesn't give us more damage, unfortunately. And because we have this passive Let Us Power, converts our leech into more damage. So every 10% leech is 30% more damage. But if that interruption was to be fixed, then having leech on your Repkit would be the best. But until that is fixed, we are using Enrage and Accelerator. And then lastly, for the best weapon for this build is a rocket that has 2 shots and has fire rate and has these stats like 25 ammo. So the reason the other ordnance don't work for this build is because they just fire too slow, and we're trying to fire as fast as possible so that we can proc our kill skill passives. The firmware that we're using is Deadeye and Airstrike. So this just gives us more damage every time we crit, and this just helps with more damage and more splash radius. So that is the gear. For skills, we're going on the green tree. We put 5 points into grave sights, gives us more crit damage. I do want to make note that gun handling, for whatever reason, is bugging out our projectile speed. So not only we're getting gun handling, but we're also getting slowed projectiles. So sometimes our missiles will be firing in slow motion. I can show you some clips here. Okay. And our next skill, we're getting grave implements, just more damage. Here using Bloodletter, gives us more damage. Our Repkit cooldown allows us to have better uptime on keeping up our incarnate. And We have target prescience. We gain crit chance on any part of the hits. This also works for ordnance. So our ordnance now has 15% crit chance. Greatest power, just more stacks for our kill skills. Our keen mind, we have crit chance. The bloodletter is considered a skill, even though it's not stated. But this allows your bleeds to crit, and it can be proc as well, similar to the bleed life, but not as powerful. But it's still good to have. Drink is full is good, but if you shoot too fast, your ordnance can run out of cooldown before your witchy finger can proc. So too much attack speed can be a downside. And lastly, Mortal Terror. This is kind of what makes the build work, as every time we crit, we trigger our kill skills. Over here is skill damage. Since Bloodletter is considered a skill, this also improves the skill damage. Essence Leech gives us Leech, and because we're using Blood as power, this gives us a 60% more kinetic damage, because when you're transformed state, it turns it to 20% Leech. And lastly, we just have 2 points in here, so this helps us out with mobbing and boss sustain if the boss decides to last longer than 5 seconds. For specializations, we put 20 points into Survivor. We get Best Defense. This increases your damage to all attacks, so including your bleed and your gun hits. We put 20 points into Brute. We grab Riddle You This. This also gives you more damage, so up to 50%. But since we are using the full spectrum arsenal, this also gives us another 25% right here. So how we're scaling our ordnance damage is just more gun damage, and the more we have, we're getting like a 1.5 instead of just like a 1-to-1 ratio. So we're just getting more damage with this. We put 20 points in here, and we can grab this passive as well. So this gives us another 5% chance here, and we have another 15% here. So we have 20% crit chance on all our missiles, and more ordnance damage right here. If you do have more points, you could spend 10 points here. These 10 points are kind of a waste, but this would allow you to unlock this, and you can scale your crit damage and your status effect damage as well this way. And after that, you just scale gun damage and crit damage back and forth. And that is all. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the build.